All right, well, good morning, investors, you early birds. Mark Robertson here, along with Kurt Kowitz, who's going to handle most of the navigation this morning, and Ken Kabul is joining us. And we have kind of a blustery day in Michigan, a little bit groggy for the weather, so if we sound groggy, there's a reason. But the intent of this presentation is to basically explore stuff that you want to take a look at. We'll show you a few things that are relatively new, but you guys can guide where this discussion goes. Kurt, it looks like most people want to spend a few moments with Solomon, so we'll do that. And so you can fit me in on the presentation wherever you see fit. But with that, why don't you go ahead and give some overall thoughts?
Great. Well, I'm glad to see people here this morning. It's always fun to talk about the product that I work on in the background so often. But lately, everything has been working pretty good. You guys haven't been giving me too many bugs to fix, and we've been pretty stable. So we've got some new features that we can talk about, and obviously go through Solomon. For anybody in the audience, if you haven't already, if you've got a browser tab that you can switch to, you can click on this link on our homepage and scroll down to this poll. Polls are a new feature that we've added recently. Anybody who creates a topic on the forum can also create a poll that goes along with it. So you can quickly add your vote to this list, and then once we get to the guided tour part, I'll come back and use this to sort of guide what we talk about next. We'll just go down in order. So this will be open for a few more minutes. I see I have it closing in about 12 minutes, so we'll be going through that. While I let people vote, Mark said he had a new presentation. So before we jump into to Solomon, let me see if I can figure out the right way to do this. We'll switch back to that for a few minutes. If I push play, will it do it?
Why don't you go ahead and go back to the first slide?
Yeah, hold on a second. It doesn't like to. Let me get the button over here. Once I do this, it doesn't let me get back to the GoToWebinar thing. It grabs my mouse and doesn't let it go over here. That's funny. There we go. I got it.
And is that showing up okay for everybody? I think it is.
Yep, it is. So go ahead, Mark. We'll talk about this and give people the chance to vote.
Well, while we're voting, one of the things we're going to actually present this, at least a version of it, if not exactly this, in Houston on next Saturday. But it's actually a segment of a presentation I'm doing at the National Convention in April in Chicago. And it covers a topic that many of you have embraced. You would love to see more clarity. We are working diligently with the Solomon AI that Kurt's about to show you to take care of some of this stuff, and that'll lead into some coming attractions. But what it has to do with is this projected return on value calculation that Ken and I have been. Ken, do I dare say preaching, or have we reached preaching mode yet?
No, but I think it's become a useful tool. Let's put it in that kind of language, Mark.
Okay, and we're going to demonstrate how this proof can be used for auditing and bolstering a stock study, in addition to pointing out that it can serve some early stage investing companies and that type of thing. But what you basically are looking at here is a quick summary of, and some of you have been around long enough to know that years ago I put together this 60-second analysis of a stock that I presented at the National Convention and had a great time with that. It goes back many years. But what we're talking about here is, I want you to understand, and this is where we see the real power of this particular metric. There's only really one new assumption, and there's only two total assumptions when you do a proof calculation. So it's a two-step process or a three-step process, but the first one is you need the operating income forecast for 5 years from now, the projected operating income 5 years from now. And much of this you already do. You generate a sales growth forecast during your stock studies. You end up with a 5-year sales estimate. And the only thing you really have to begin to get a handle on to do this effectively is this projected operating margin shown there in red. So that's the one that we really want to chase down and understand. And I'll go way out on a limb and say I think it might ultimately become perhaps the most important input that we use in evaluating a universe of stocks, believe it or not. Point number two, or step number two, you can look up all four of the other assumptions that are needed for the enterprise value. It's simply a lookup, and we'll show you where to find that. Step three is divide 1 by 2. So we're going to actually show you the calculation. You basically determine the projected operating income, you determine the enterprise value, you divide one by the other, and you have a projected return on value.
Can I give you some input as a student, Mark?
Yes.
Box number 1 is really clear. The bottom box is really clear. In box number 2, why don't you mimic what you did in box number 1 and put a sentence that says, add these 4 values together to get enterprise value.
Okay. I will do that.
You've told them exactly what to do in box 1. Now tell them exactly what to do in box 2.
Okay. Good deal. I will make that edit to the presentation. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Kurt. So here's basically what you're looking at. We're looking at a case study of Apple. And again, the 30 seconds, put air quotes around the 30 seconds. But what you're dealing with is, we have some comprehension of trailing 4 quarters or trailing 12 months. So that's simply a lookup for us. As you do your study, you're coming up with a growth forecast, 6, 7, 8, maybe some people are as high as 10, but the analyst consensus right now is right around 6.4. You have your 5-year sales estimate. And now the only other thing to really understand is this projected operating margin. You could also use projected cash flow margin, but they're going to run pretty close together, and they're not far enough apart for it to be significant. So it's an either or. But you can see on the right, everybody recognizes that sales characteristic trend and the numbers involved with that. And now it really comes down to, well, what's the operating margin look like? Well, you can see the insert from value line, and they're basically looking at a number camping around 33 or 34%. And I think as you look at the chart from Manifest, which we put out on our companies, it's pretty easy to develop a relatively high confidence level in that 33 or 34% number. So you have a projected operating income of approximately $200 billion, that 203,943. All right, so the second part, step 2, go ahead and give me another slide advance, Kurt. And this is where it gets pretty powerful. Those first, I can't believe those are wiping them out rather than highlighting, but you basically go to the capital structure. This is why practice is good, I guess, Ken. Those are supposed to be highlights, not wipeouts on the right-hand side there. But you go to the capital structure box in Value Line or any other source, Morningstar or wherever, and you basically look up those 4 numbers. The 5th one's a little bit tricky. That's the treasury stock for the company, and something that I use fairly frequently is to use any of the artificial intelligence engines to simply ask that question. Now, we actually have it in the Solomon data at Manifest, so we don't have to do that. But if you're out there just trying to recreate this process, it's pretty straightforward. And again, the point that we like to make is there's really only one key assumption here, and everything else is basically a lookup or a piece of data. So that's one of the reasons that Ken and I really think that you have fewer variables, you can develop a relatively high confidence level in this type of a return forecast calculation. Anything you would like to add here, Ken? Or
that one assumption that they have to do some independent work on is the sales growth forecast in the step 1, right?
Yeah, well, that's something we already do, in our traditional method.
Absolutely. Right.
Determining your opinion or judgment when it comes to the projected operating margin is going to be new to people. Relatively new.
And we're suggesting that if there is a value line number, it's probably it probably can be used, right?
Most of the time, it's going to be pretty good. One of the things that you'll run into as you study companies is sometimes they struggle with a company that's scaling and doing better over time. They don't trend up with it, something that we struggle with as a community also. But basically, again, go back one slide, Kurt. If you look at that picture for any company, you can get a feel for, what's going on with the company by that graphic. And you can make your own judgment about whether or not that seems steady or reliable. So go ahead and go to the next slide, Kurt. I think we've got one more. So then basically step 3 is to take those numbers, the numerator, the projected operating income, and divide by the sum minus the cash on hand. And you basically end up with a proof in the 5 to 6% range. If you look at manifest today, you're probably going to see a number closer to the 7 or 8, and we'll talk more about that in the future. But again, I just wanted to share this excerpt and why we think it's such a fundamentally powerful calculation, and it's relatively easy to get to. Any other thoughts?
You might in that step 2 box, Mark, put an extra line that says enterprise equals, and then give the total enterprise value at the bottom of that box, which is going to move to your denominator then.
Gotcha.
In other words, you just might demonstrate the addition going on in step 2. Just like you demonstrated the multiplication going on in step 1.
Yeah, I'll add some of those mathematical functions to the sequence. So this is an excerpt, and we'll do more with it, but I just think it really starts to give you a look at how powerful it is. The next step, we covered it last week's bull session. We'll do more of it where we show, well, what does that audit look like? What does it mean?
I think you'll be happy, Ken. Dashboards and worksheets charged ahead while we were talking.
That's because he's stuffing the ballot box.
Probably,
so
yeah, he probably signed in with all of his family accounts.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Solomon is still in the lead. So we'll start there, guys. So we'll go back to the home page just to demonstrate that this is everywhere. It never leaves. It's this little purple icon over here. And I had hoped more people would find it, but we're going to have to talk about it and make it more prominent. So you just click on that icon and it will open up Solomon. So let me start a new conversation and it'll guide you with a few ideas. You can basically ask it anything about manifest investing, from questions on the methodology to questions on specific companies or funds. It has tools built in that mirror all of the tools that you have access to on manifest investing. So we can ask it something about that it recommends here, explain the sweet spot. You can be nice to it or mean to it. It doesn't really care, but I always try and be nice. And what it'll do is grab a few tools. I'm used to doing this on a bigger screen. It's going to move it down here again. So let's give it a second to answer. But it'll go through tools that it has available. So it has our methodology. So it'll grab related content from the methodology. It'll grab content from the guide and show those things for you in the tool returns. And then it's grabbing the current MyPar, so it can explain it in context. And then it will tell you what it knows about MyPar and PAR. So it'll tell you, you can continue asking about that. So you could reply with, tell me more. You mentioned MyPar, tell me more about MyPar. But we could also ask it about.
Okay, Kurt, we're getting people telling us that their screen is not showing the Solomon star. Do you know why that might be happening?
Well, it's probably, I tried to roll it out for everybody. So I thought everybody had access to it, but maybe there's a
Well,
problem there. So if they're
Julia
not
and
seeing it,
Julia and Ann are not seeing the star.
Anne and Julia,
Hmm.
all right, I will double check. We'll get that sorted out right after the presentation. I'll use a different way to turn it on for everybody. So you can ask it about current news. You can ask it about specific companies. You could ask it about stock search. So show me near their 52-week low. And then, yeah, Mark, what were you asking?
I was just going to go fishing for a company just for kicks, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I asked it for companies near their 52-week low, so it can do a stock search. And then it'll give you some commentary on it. So it found 15 companies near their 52-week low, but it'll do more than that. It'll go through and decide which of these might be more interesting than the others. So,
and you
Okay,
can
the list of people that cannot see the star is growing, so there's quite a few people that can't see it, Kurt.
all right. Well, I apologize, audience. That probably explains why not many people have been trying out Solomon, and I keep seeing the same few that are trying it. So there's obviously something broken there, but it's been good because this has given me a chance to iterate on how it works, and it's really stable now.
This is where I jump in and point out that Kurt and I are both very responsive to bribes.
Yeah. If you want this, just let me know. So what we found here is that we can go in.
We've added Ralph, Cheryl, Dolores, and Susan
All right.
to the list. And
Well,
waiting for name, whoever waiting for name is also can't see it.
All right. We'll get this turned on as soon as we're done here, since everybody's interested in it. Boy, that's my bad. I really thought this was publicly available. So anyhow, Solomon then gave us some answers here. So it's telling us that maybe these three are useful for extra scrutiny. So you could say, compare the interesting ones for me.
This is scary. While we're doing this,
go
ahead, Kurt.
Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
I was just going to point out, taking a step back from the trees so you can see the whole forest, you should treat this as a research assistant, just like it says in the title, right? And it's going to learn. It's frightening how it learns, but it learns how to be more responsive and more precise all the time. You do have to always check it. Keep in mind that it's probably not completely immune from hallucinating or all that other stuff you've been warned about. But I would go so far as to say my personal experience is you have to worry a lot less about specific queries like everybody's telling you. This stuff is going to get a lot smarter than that step very quickly. So,
we go one thing that it can continue, Mark. Sorry.
Just give it the most specific directions you can, and you'll be amazed.
So it has context for what the sweet spot is and what things that we talk about frequently are. The triple play, for example. Comparison here was limited to 4, so it pulled up Hermes International separately to talk about. And then we'll use the tools and then, provide commentary on what it sees from the tools. So I already know what it'll tell me here about Hermes, but you can ask it more. It'll tell you what other tools it might be able to do for each of these. So go ahead, Ken.
And folks in the audience, you don't have to tell me that you can't see Solomon. We understand the problems there, and Kurt will get it fixed. But I'm getting overload here on information now, so you don't have to tell me. You don't have to chime in. Okay.
The intent is that everybody should have access to it, which I see it on the accounts that I work from, and it must be something that it's perhaps limited to users that are considered user admins or something like that, but I'll fix it, guys. Everybody will have access to this, I'd say within an hour after this. So from here, it knows that it can grab news or risk or AI earnings. So let's say, what does the earnings report show us about, let's say, so it'll go and grab these. I know it already has this. We already created this one. So a lot of these tool calls, the things that it shows you above, can be expanded and looked at it.
Kurt, I had a question from a consultant in the AI field. He was wondering why or how the red and yellow flags, he likes it. He likes it a lot. What generates the red, yellow, and green flags?
That's a very, very detailed prompt. I would say that prompt is probably 250 lines long that tells it how to go out and pull the latest 3 quarterly reports and then how to analyze it and how to show us information about it. So it's here is showing some from the full report. So from there, we can go and take a look at the full report. And this is, sorry about that. Somebody's trying to call me during this.
They probably want you to turn on their Solomon icon.
That's right. That's oh, come on, Vicky. Sorry if you guys can hear that. It's in my ears. So this is the AI report, and what it does is go out and grab the latest 3 quarterly reports and basically compare them. And everything in here is sourced, so you can see how it reached its conclusion in each of these. We did that so that you're not as concerned that it might be hallucinating answers here. But it scrolls. This is built off of an extremely detailed prompt that says, go through and look at these things, look for these specific things, and compare them.
Well, so one of the things, just for the audience, we've been talking about Gentex. We talked about Gentex at one of the most recent bull sessions, and he was absolutely knocked off his chair by the fact that this tool took us directly to the concerns about profitability. That's what it was.
So you can see it'll show questions about China's market deterioration, but at the bottom of this
is what
it goes through some of the red flags and green flags, which is part of this built-in prompt. And it'll give you highlights that you might come into a company and all of these are basically green or neutral. In this case, it's showing some risks here. So this is built out with the intent that in combination with Solomon, you can get more than just this view. I have always found that this has been enough for me. I can make wonderful portfolios for my kids' college funds, and they've been successful without a whole lot more information. But using some of these tools in combination with external research or the earnings analysis, I think are pretty powerful, especially when you throw in something like Solomon that needs perhaps a bit more context to help you answer some of these questions.
Hey, can we go on a wild goose chase here and try to answer Bill Griffith's question? What's the?
You gotta tell me what his question is.
What's the deal with the lackluster stock price performance with NICE systems? The ticker's NICE.
We'll see what Solomon has to say.
To
do that, it decided to get the company details, and it decided to grab the company news, and it's checking the risk analysis, which might take a second. There we go.
While it's working there, Marilyn wants to know, is Solomon a proprietary program to Manifest? Is it trained using only Manifest provided data, or could it create false content?
It is, I would say, guardrailed to Manifest only content. It only has access to tools that a Manifest subscriber has access to, and it is built with the intent that it can use tools with that only apply to it. So it doesn't have much knowledge about the outside world, and it is sort of gate kept to just being able to use the tools that I've built out specifically for this. And I can put a more detailed answer to that, but yes, the intent is that if you were to say, tell me more about the war in Iran, it might tell you just a tiny bit about it, but then it would guide you back to how it's impacting stocks. So it would see it because it knows FMP's general news feed might show it as a concern for investing. So here's the answer. There's quite a bit going on with NICE. It's dropped its SEC risk factors. So one of the things that pulled up was an AI risk report. So it'll show you some key risks within the company, and then it'll talk about those things. So
that's a pretty good answer. Again, Kurt, what was the prompt that generated this response?
All I said was,
how did you get here, I think is our audience question. How did you get here?
What's the deal with NICE and its low price?
Great. Okay, so it was a very simple prompt. Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to go into much detail. What happens is when you type in something like this, you say, "What's the deal with NICE and its low price?" If you type in a very simplistic question, it uses a very model to sort of pull apart what you're asking for, and then it makes a decision on what Manifest tools it can use to provide an answer. So it decided that it was going to grab the company details, and it was going to get the company news, and then it was going to analyze the company risks, because we probably said something that, what's the deal with it? So it wants to know more about why it might have a low price. And then it grabs all of that information and then formats a reply based on those tools. So as you can see from that and from other things I've demonstrated, it's not going out into the World Wide Web to pull information. It's using specific Manifest tools that it has access to form an answer.
10 years ago, I could have done this with General Electric and just handed the text to my father, and that could have saved me a lot of time. One of the things, though, kind of following up on Marilyn's comment or question, the AI consultant basically said one of the strengths of what you've done here is you're avoiding going into some of the traditional public channels where you're vulnerable to, I'm just going to put it in the category of executive management cheerleading on a whole bunch of stuff. So you're basically a little bit immune. This was his assessment after, well, you know how long you spent, Kurt, 13 hours, just doing exactly what we're doing right now. So it's got some immunity to some of the concerns that Marilyn was implying.
So just it did give us a nice summary right here. Oh, it's going to answer my question already. I thought we didn't have an AI earnings report, but somebody must have run it already. So, so the market is essentially asking, is NICE a legacy software company that AI disrupts? And we'll pull up the earnings report, which looks a little, and then it'll say the disconnect between AI fear and operational reality. So you guys can read just fine, so I'll leave it to you. But please, once this is available, come try it. One of the things I'm constantly doing is I don't look over everybody's shoulder, but we do have sort of an iterative process of reviewing conversations for errors and places where Solomon might have lost track, and then refining it. So these conversations aren't necessarily public. I don't read your conversations, but we do use AI to analyze how AI is responding and then improve.
It's just good quality control, and we'll never misbehave when it comes to that. Ken, do you have any impressions from your end? This is a company that you've got in clubs, and you certainly have a high awareness and concern.
I own this in a couple clubs that I belong to. we have very small positions in NICE, but we're fascinated by the company. We're just fascinated by it. But like, as I indicated to you, Mark, a couple days ago, we're going to be opening up some serious discussions about software in a couple of these clubs.
Yeah.
And dealing with the larger question of, is software going to be essentially a whole new industry because of AI? So we'll be talking about that. I don't know if we'll reach any conclusions, but we'll be talking about it in detail.
We're going to touch on it on Tuesday at Bull Session too, Ken. And
Okay, great.
And I had a fairly lengthy conversation with a software lifetime employee last week. And in a nutshell, he basically thinks that there are legitimate concerns, but they are overblown. That's the nutshell. And that software is going to evolve, and yeah, there's going to be just as it has been with any industry since the beginning of time. Some people are going to get obsoleted, but it's not going to decimate the industry. Was kind of his message.
Our concern, Mark, came from the fact that we're listening to the talking heads in print and on television, and they seem to be dividing themselves into two categories, which are kind of at war with each other as far as what's going to happen. And they're kind of asking anybody they talk to take sides, and we're wondering, is there a side to take, or is the actual answer somewhere in between the two sides?
Yeah, and I think NICE is probably a great case study here because they were very, revolutionary and evolutionary in AI going back almost 20 years. So is this a new competitive threat facing them that they've not had until the last 3 to 5 years? And how are they handling it? Again, I think it's a microcosm of the.
One last thing with Solomon to drag us back into discovering tools. You can share your conversations and you can share them publicly. Again, it's more similar to the dashboard one that I mentioned. If somebody's not a member, they just have to type in an email address quickly for us, and we're going to send them a few emails, but that's about it. You don't have to pay. You don't have to subscribe to see some of these shared items. So one of the things that I'm still trying to get working is snapshotting the tool requests so that in the history, you can see what these tools showed at that specific time. But it does give you the content and the answers, so you can share the full conversation.
Anitra has an interesting question, guys. She wants to know, how long has Solomon been used in Manifest? I see Solomon Select going back 3 years for a company in the forum.
So this is a brand new tool that I decided to call Solomon. The Solomon used at Manifest Investing has always been the name for our, I guess you'd call it, database of companies. And then Solomon Select was Mark's
monthly selections
stock pick for the month. But we can ask it, why are you called Solomon? I think it knows.
Does it know?
I think so. Oh, come on. It did know. It gave me a great answer one time. But basically, it's in reference to King Solomon. So, and being able to be what. Well, anyway, I'm losing the train of thought here.
So, Kurt, am I anywhere near correct when I say that this particular tool that you're demonstrating right now is just an outgrowth of the original database?
It is. And that was the idea, but it has only been available for the last few months. So after I built out the version 5 of the site, I decided to build out an AI assistant, and we have been testing it iteratively for the last few months internally, and we've slowly opened the gates. So, and now, thanks for pointing it out today, we'll make it widely available, which I thought it already was. So let's go back to the forum here and see.
And while you're doing that, Kurt, I would just read
I don't remember the
Bill
poll.
Griffith and say, ask him to comment. Is that what you were looking for?
Nope, I'm looking for what's next.
No, I was talking about
So,
Bill Griffiths.
oh, okay. Yeah, probably. So we covered Solomon Assistant. I know we'll get to dashboards and worksheets, but I see forums and polls and search are also here. So one of the things we've done recently, just to annoy folks, and I'll probably change the color on it, but I don't see it right now because nobody's posting, but you'll see a little red dot up at the forum. We've had a lot of people over the years when we go and visit with clubs that tell us they didn't know that we had forums. So I'm trying to make it more apparent that people are communicating and talking on the site. Why is this bumping at me? Stop it. Not right now. Sorry, my go-to webinar was very persistent there. So from the forum, typically you'll find most of the discussion happening within general discussion or within the stock forum. Could you or Ken or Mark just post something somewhere so I can demonstrate what happens?
What are you happy with? I want to know what's a hyperscaler.
So just to demonstrate that these things happen,
I'm gonna post it in the today's session thread.
Wonderful.
I'm using the machine off to the side so it's harder to type.
While he's doing that, we did revise the search based on our feedback from the last one, our community forum search. Oh, there we go. So a lot of this stuff is dynamic if you're on the site. So it'll show that somebody replied. Oh man, that's bad. Why didn't it show up? Let's see what happens. It did. It took a minute.
Bill has responded and he says, yes, you've covered what he was concerned about. And he was one of the ones that could not see that icon. So that's part of the problem right there.
Oh man. So it'll show you that there's forum posts. You'll have an unread that will show you anything that's unread. Mark wants to know what a hyperscaler is. I don't know, but we could probably ask Solomon. He might know. Probably not.
He'll know.
The recent activity, if you're a new subscriber, you'd probably see a ton of activity if you were to go back from all time. So we've made it a little bit easier to see what's happened in the last few days. You can go to everything. And then if you don't want to see any of that, you're like, I've read enough. I don't want to see any more new icons. You can mark everything as red, which is something that I usually do. And you'll see the red dot goes away immediately. And if we go back to the forum, nothing is shown as unread. So just some tips and tricks to sort of help you stay up to date. I wonder if it'll do it if we just do hyperscaler. Well, anyhow, you can type for things. I have no idea what that means. So it's matching the one that Mark just showed us. But if you type in hyperscaler, we've added a few new things here. You can use newest first and it'll come up with Mark because that one was just posted in the last 2 minutes. We can add a few filters for I want to see it in the title only. I want to see ones that have replies. I want to see it in the past week or all time. So it's been mentioned by Mark in the past week. So we improved the search within the forum itself based on your feedback from the last discovery session.
Yeah, those other references are going to be pointing to data centers or companies that provide software and infrastructure for data centers. So that's why they showed up.
Very cool. Within any of these, you create a new topic. I have more options than you guys do. You can add a poll, which is pretty straightforward. All you need are 2 options. So if you have a question that you want to have some people answer, there's some great options there for polls. I think, unless anybody has specific questions about the forum, I think it's a great tool. And I've tried to encourage more visibility and more activity here. If you want to jump down here and just say hello, part of our Manifest Explorer campaign that I tried to encourage, sort of working through the site at your own pace and learning more. I think there's one on the forum down here. Yep. Post in a forum. If you not sure where to post, go to that one. Say hello. So it's a great place to start. Sorry, excuse me. So any more questions on the forum?
We're clear on that, Kurt.
All right. So dashboards and worksheets. Let's see. I didn't make any of mine. Let's see what I've got. So there's my Groundhog dashboard. So from the home page, you can click on dashboard. My dashboards will take you to a list of your personal dashboards with any that you have favorited at the top. To favorite a dashboard, any of these down here, you can favorite. Ooh, look, I completed an Explorer. You can favorite a dashboard, and then it will immediately show up top here, and you can click off of those to remove it. From there, I spelled Groundhog wrong. You can click into your Groundhog portfolio in this case. If you submitted a dashboard for the Groundhog, which I did in this case, there is no ability to edit it. So it becomes a static dashboard that can't be changed. So we'll go back and see what else I have here that might be more interesting. Boy, I should have hidden some of this stuff or gone into a test one. Sorry, guys. So Skinny Hogs is a different one that I created based on the Groundhog submissions, ones that might be of interest. We can edit a dashboard, which brings up your thing, and we can cover what these mean right here then. So if you traditionally, when you create your dashboard, it'll be not public. So this will be flagged as no. Creating a public dashboard here will then make it available to the public, and you can share it. Publish means you'll see a URL. Boy, that's wrong. It should be right under public, but it'll provide a URL. And then this one is not one that you guys can see. It's for me as an admin. I should really sign into a different account when I'm doing this demonstration, I guess. Down here, we have holdings. One of the things that we can cover briefly is that your Eagle stock studies can now show up on your dashboards. I don't think any of these are covered by my Eagles, so it's not giving me the option. As you add holdings down here, adding a holding, if you type a random ticker, it's going to tell you it's not found. So there is some checking before you add anything. So as soon as it finds a company or finds a matching fund, it'll show you there. If we do not cover a given security, you can still add it, and we'll try and go out and get a price for it and show it on your dashboard. So we'll add 10 shares of Apple here. These down here, these advanced options are more helpful for if you want a tracking dashboard. You say, I've got 10 companies and I want to see how they did over time. You can add a dollar amount here. You can add a bunch of symbols here. And then when you create or update your dashboard, it will calculate the number of shares to have all of them at the same value. So if you added these 5 companies, for example, and put $1,000 here, it would calculate the necessary shares for them each to have $1,000. And then you might be able to come back in a month or a year and see how those would have moved over that time.
I do have
the intent for building the
dashboard.
I have a suggestion, and then I have a demo that we can maybe use here. Go back and try to add a stock again, if you would. And the issue is that if you were to, hit that button and then put in BRKB, okay,
Yeah.
and that says not found. It might be nice if when you put in, because the average user would not know to put a dash there. They might use a dot, they might use nothing, and it would be nice to have a prompt come up when a couple of these very common things with a dash in them are added. Say, do you mean, and things. So
Yep.
that's just a suggestion, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And
And
then
that,
I've gotten requests from 3 people to have them show, they want me to show them how I'm capturing complete dashboards and getting it in a printable version for my PowerPoint presentations. Okay, and let me show you how I'm doing. Let me show them how I'm doing that. I'm just going to Actions, Print that, and then I'm not doing any scrolling of any kind. I'm just hitting that button in the bottom right, Print Dashboard. That blue button, hit that blue button in the bottom right
I
there.
did, but it's not going to show it. It's showing me a print preview of this page right here, basically.
Right,
So,
and that's the page that I am then using my Snagit editor or my snippet or whatever tool you're using. It's not showing up on your screen right now, but that's
no,
what yeah,
it won't.
but that's what I'm using to put into the PowerPoint, because it gives me
There we
a
go.
really, there it is, okay. And this over here is what I'm using in my tool to capture and place into the PowerPoint then, because it fits and it's easily manipulated in the PowerPoint software.
Switch it to landscape. You're driving me crazy.
Fine. Portrait, landscape.
Yeah,
I was
and
going to see if I could
you
get
can
the
get a really nice
background.
slide off of this print now, Kurt, by just capturing this screen over here. I use a tool called Snagit, and Snagit captures this beautifully, but there's a number of other tools,
Sure.
including a Windows tool that does it. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And I've got a number of people want to know, how do I get the dashboard into a PowerPoint presentation on one slide? And that's how I do it.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool.
One of the other
Thank
things
you,
I
Ken.
thought you might demonstrate while you're here, Kurt, is go into Actions and switch out a column. Turn off projected yield. Put in core score.
So again, actions. And the very first option is columns. And Mark doesn't like yield. What did you want, Mark?
Core score is fine.
Proof. Oh, core
Core
score, either
score.
one, yeah.
Great. And these are typically within groups, and within those groups, you can drag them around. That's what this little icon here, this little grippy, is what they used to, or what they do call it, I suppose. So you can say, I don't like growth there. I want it
I didn't know you
here.
could do this.
And you'll see them move around. So I don't think I can, you can't drag it out of its category. So we sort of have rules on where things sort of show up. So you can't move everything everywhere, but you can turn things off, and you can see those things happening in the background. It's instantaneous. So if you turn a few things off, shares will disappear.
Here's an interesting tidbit that I've discovered, Kurt. When you have a slider bar at the bottom showing that the dashboard itself is a little bit wider than your screen, and you have to move to
Right.
see the extra columns, when you
Yep.
go to that print thing we just talked about, it allows you to put in a couple of extra columns, and it fits it on the one page without you having to do slider, and therefore you can capture the whole thing for a slide somewhere then.
One of the things, and you're not going to be able to really see it here, but if you have a big monitor, there is an option here to ignore the width constraints of your standard page. And you'll see it right there as I click that, and you can see it in the background. It says it ignores the page margins and it makes it bigger, so that everything can fit. So I added a lot of columns, and then I said expand to fit, and it'll no longer constrain it to fit within the page. So
That's very interesting. Okay, that's great.
Yeah. So then if we go back here, what Ken was mentioning is that I have more data now that can be showed on the page. And if you go in here, you'll be able to drag back and forth, which is functional. It'll show you everything, but you probably got too much to be shown. So if you've got a big monitor, you can go into actions, go into columns, scroll to the bottom and expand to fit. And it will show you all of the columns and ignore what we call the page margin on both sides of the manifest site, just for the table. It won't resize everything for you. And then a few options down at the bottom. You can obviously reset this, so we'll reset it to the defaults, and now you can see we're not scrolling back and forth. Within columns, you can say, I always want to see this dashboard this way, and you can save it as your default. I want to see all of my dashboards this way. And those are available. What often tells me I'm doing wrong is within worksheets here. One of these days, he'll tell me that I've got it all right. There's a little tour. If you want to find out more about it, you can take that tour. I haven't done a worksheet since I released the Explorer, so I'm really close to earning a free week, Mark. I love it. I think that just means I get a free vacation, right? Vacation week, spring break's coming up soon. So the worksheet is
Go to the airport and stand in line, Kurt, okay? You know?
We almost made the mistake of doing a spring vacation, like traveling somewhere.
Yeah.
And thank God we didn't, because I don't think I'd want to stand in line. Miss my flight. Yeah, so what you see here is called the worksheet, and it's a what if. And it has the companies that we had in our existing dashboard with all of their existing shares. But this allows you to change the dashboard and see what impact it might have on quality, PAR, financial strength, and so on, growth. I am not a huge user of this, but investment clubs, I would say, definitely are. Yeah. So when you come into this, there's different buttons. If you mouse over them, it'll tell you what they're going to do if you just sort of hang out there for a second. So if we wanted to say, I want to see what the dashboard would look like without the shares of Apple in it, we'll deactivate that, and then you'll scroll down and you'll see a new inactive holding section, and Apple will be in that. And say activate it again. I just want to demonstrate the cash available to the club right now or on this dashboard is 0. We didn't have any cash in it. When we deactivate a company, that cash balance for that company is applied here. So we had 2,500-ish in cash now because Apple is no longer active. So then you might decide what happens.
Kurt, the most important thing that happened was those averages at the bottom all changed.
Yep. So now you can play the what if of what happens if I apply that cash in a different way. So we can, where's my add button, Ken? Where is it? How do I add a new holding? Oh, I know where it's at, right there. So if you scroll down in the table, there's a new holding. So we could say, I want to switch it out with a different company. And based on that, what company should we switch it on?
Nice.
So we'll look it up. We're going to add Microsoft instead. And one of the things that it'll do for you is say, I want to move that cash into shares of Microsoft. So it'll show you what's going to happen, how many shares it's able to buy, and we'll say we'll add that holding. So now we've deployed as much cash as we can into Microsoft. And again, you'll see these averages change. And that's sort of the playground for a dashboard. and it's designed more for a group presentation perhaps, but you can do it as an individual.
And
What's going to happen if?
It's really great, Kurt, that you've made it so that it does not go into fractional shares when you add that Microsoft holding.
can force it.
It's not spending all of your money with a fractional portion attached to it. It's going into whole shares. So that's a nice thing.
Kurt, do you have is the before and after report active here?
I don't think so.
I'm trying to remember. I don't. I've used it before. Check your actions. No.
Show comparison.
There you go.
Yeah, there it is. So right. So based on the change. So basically, when you come into the worksheet, we snapshot what some of these metrics look like, and based on the changes you're making, you can see what happens. So by switching to Microsoft, we've lowered our financial strength and increased our PAR and growth somewhat. And then one of the last things is you can apply those changes back to the original dashboard. It'll tell you what's going to happen. So then let's see if this actually works. So we'll go back here, and we should see.
Microsoft.
Oh, I don't know, man. Apple's still there. Well, I might have done something wrong. So the intent with applying it back to the dashboard is that I'm going to write that down so I don't forget. I'm going to check that out. Worksheet.
We'll definitely use this feature during our next Buttonwood.
So if there are any, how did I get to worksheets again? So from this, you'll see it now. There's one, but from any dashboard, there'll be a worksheets link right at the top. If you click on that, we'll delete this one. Oops, come on, be nice. I didn't want to do that. Just so you can see what it looked like at the beginning. So when you go to worksheets for the first time, it's going to have no worksheets yet. And this button up at the top here, new, will automatically create it based on the holdings that are there then. Oh, it was a caching issue. So it was showing the dashboard in the previous state. So
right, what's not working, Kurt, that I just figured out is that the deactivation is not holding because when you take and eliminate it from the worksheet, it does transfer to the old worksheet.
What we just saw here
is deactivation that's not working.
Yeah, when I came back to it, it still showed us Apple, but that was what's called a caching issue.
Apple, you just deactivated it, right?
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that, Ken. It was something different here. We save a lot of information so that we don't have to make too many API calls, too many calls to the back end. And what happened was when we came back from the worksheet, it had not updated what it thought was the most current snapshot. So after we've moved around a little bit, it what's called broke that cache, that saved information, and now it knows that Microsoft is the right one. So anyhow, we get to worksheets.
Great.
We get to Skinny Hogs, and that's how you get there. And Mark, you should do a class on this at Bink.
Okay, I'm sure we're going to get the chance to demonstrate it.
Kurt, why don't you show how you can add 10 shares to a stock?
Right. So we're going to go back to our, there's a couple of different ways. One of the easiest ways to modify a holding is just to mouse over the shares, and it'll bring up a quick edit. And we're going to add 10 shares to Microsoft and save. And that's it. You just click out anywhere outside of that or hit return or something. Ooh, that's more than I wanted.
That's not on the worksheet, though. That's on the dashboard itself.
What did it just do there?
Well, that's happening quite a bit in our worksheets, yeah.
I think you're dealing with
a little bit of lag there. So within the worksheet,
cache too.
Yeah. So within the worksheet, that is not available there. But if we just click on any row, you can edit it. You can also click on this edit shares, and it'll bring it up. So we're going to say we want 10 shares. It'll tell us how much it needs. It'll say we don't have enough cash. That's all right. We're going to ignore cash because everybody's going to make a sizable addition to this club portfolio, and then we'll update the shares. So within the worksheet, there's a little bit more involved. Within your personal dashboard over here, so this is my dashboard view, not the worksheet. You're in full control here. You know what you bought. You know how many shares you have. So you can either edit and go down and update all of the shares one at a time. You can say, I don't have 10, I have 20 shares of Climb, and I have 20 shares of Microsoft, and just click update. And that's all you need to do there. And we'll see those immediately.
Kurt, Dolores has her hand in the air. I'm going to unmute her and let her ask her question, okay? Dolores, you're self-muted. You'll have to unmute yourself if you want to ask your question.
I'm just wondering if we can reduce I think you just demonstrated it before, but my question was earlier. If we wanted to take our position down, to half of what it is, you can do that without the whole position being eliminated?
Yep. I think if that's a question from within the worksheet, obviously in your dashboard, you can make any change you need. Within the worksheet version of this, if we were to say, I only have 8, it would know that you're then subtracting 8 shares, and it would show you that you're going to get you're going to get cash. So down here in the share change, it's going to show you you're lowering it by 8 shares. You're going to end up with 3,000 in cash. And if we update, that'll jump to 8 and our cash will go up. So
Thank
definitely
you.
within the worksheet. Yeah. And honestly, that is this modal that comes up. These are the little window that pops up. This is where we want to make a few changes to the verbiage to make it more apparent that you can both add shares and subtract shares and what's going to happen within the worksheet.
Lee also has a hand in the air, and Lee, you're also self-muted. You'll have to unmute yourself in order to ask your question. L-E-I-G-H, Lee. Okay, that's maybe an inadvertent hand, and I'm going to take it down. And we're current again.
Yeah. All right. So let's go back to our forum. See what we got next. So we've talked about Solomon, we've talked about dashboards, we've talked about forums. Let's see, learning materials. Ooh, I've been working on this. So from the homepage, one of the easiest ways to jump into our learning materials is this Manifest Explorer campaign that I started, which is sort of a self-exploration or self-guided exploration of everything manifest investing. So if we click into that, it'll show you the Manifest Explorer. And with a simple contest-based approach, if you do 10 of these, we'll give you an extra week on your subscription. A little bit of motivation to go through and learn what manifest investing has to offer. From in the Manifest Explorer campaign page, there's all sorts of stuff that'll help you get started. We have both tour versions of it and step versions of it. So if we'll tell you how to go and do things, how to view a company analysis. Some of these are tours. So if you click on a tour, it'll take you to each step of the process. So we're going to step through a tour of company reports. So this is showing you that from a stock search, you might click on the company here, Visa, which will take you to a company report. In this case, it's Apple, but I always wanted, this is the actual page. Some of these are demonstration pages. So it'll show you what's on a company report and basically walk you through each part of a feature on manifest investing.
Kurt, I have
And
another hand in the air, and I'm going to unmute Lee. She evidently got her things working here. Lee, go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, can you add ETFs to the worksheet and a portfolio?
yes, you can ETFs within the research section, within funds, we have coverage on various funds, but I wouldn't say that we have a large universe of funds. We typically try and cover ones that have been added by subscribers. So if we're seeing various funds or ETFs show up in dashboards, we try and cover those as best we can.
Yeah, this is an area that we're basically bringing back to life. So you're going to see it expand and improve in coming weeks and months.
So the methodology behind that.
We do need to make the point, however, that there are ETFs that you cannot come up with a par value for or a quality value for.
Sure.
Right.
So if you're expecting a full range of numbers for everything, that's not going to ever be there for some ETFs.
Yeah. So in this case, what I'm showing is what we do is we try and parse the holdings, and from the holdings, we try and match those up to our companies and perhaps funds, to generate a quality and a par based on the weighted value of those holdings. So if we can achieve that, if there are things we can match up, we can provide a quality and a par. If there's not, then we just can't do much with it. It's not really, even though we might be able to provide you a price for that, so it'll show up in your dashboard with a price and a value. There's not much more we can do based on how manifest investing views investing.
We're probably going to end up, and this is really thinking out loud and in the cloud, we'll probably end up characterizing some of those non-stock or non-equity funds in a slightly different way in the future. So stay tuned. We're going to restore the equity funds first.
Lee, I've unmuted you again. Continue your question. Go on.
No, that Mark answered it. I was, yes, wondering about adding various ETFs and the more popular ETFs, bond ETFs and, stock ETFs.
Yep. We'll be watching the entire community for, what they are interested in and basically reviving them. And
let's keep moving on education. So other than Manifest Explorer, if you just want to go and find our user's guide, I put that in various places. So you can find the user's guide from publications. You can find the user's guide from your profile menu. If we scroll down, there's also the guide there. So we'll go to the guide. It still needs a few more screenshots and a little bit of content review. But I'm slowly working my way through every single article to make sure that they all have useful screenshots, I suppose. There's a few that are just placeholders yet. But each of these categories has articles. So goes over the entire premise of manifest investing. As you scroll down to the bottom, it tries to summarize some of the things. It gives you links to learning more about different things, and then you can just step through article by article, category by category. So this, we're in the welcome. We can go to the next, the two things that matter article. If we were to scroll down, it'll take us into the next section. So you can just continuously walk right through the entire guide at your own pace.
We have a question, Kurt, for you or for Mark. This is coming from Waiting for Name. Whoever this is, you might want to put your name into the attendee list. And he or she is asking, what data source are you using for your feed?
Why don't you start with that one, Mark?
Okay, well, we basically have a two-pronged approach for the primary data sources. The first one is FMP, that stands for Financial Modeling Prep, and that's simply just like FactSet Research or any other data provider you can think of, although they do provide a lot of content also. And then we also lean pretty heavily on the value line data array. So the value line and FMP are the primary sources. We do actually reach out and grab other pieces of information from places like Morningstar, CFRA, and a couple others. But those are the primary sources that are driving the engine.
Past, I would say, just the user's guide. I would consider the events, particularly the past recorded events, as a great educational resource. So if you go and you click on watch recording, you don't necessarily have to watch it. You can scroll down below and we parse everything we can out of these discussions. So you could go back to our other discovery sessions and watch those. You can come in here and mine these events for company mentions. Each one will have a summary of what was discussed. So I think that's another great educational tool on the site. I think that would be just about it for new content. So, oh, right, one more thing. I probably need to make these more apparent. When you come to the user's guide, here's what I wanted to talk about. If you scroll down, here's a list of all of the interactive tours you can take on the site. So click on any of these. It'll show you how to get to the forum, what it does, and so on. So I think those are probably the best initial starting point between the guide and the tours. So let's see. Go ahead, Mark.
No, I'm good.
I thought I heard somebody say. Okay. We'll run back to the forum here. See what else. So we got learning materials checked off. The only other one that we haven't, additional company resources. That's fun. We'll leave upcoming editions for the last little mention here. We got a few minutes. We're running pretty long, but let's keep going for a couple more minutes.
Everybody's still here.
All right. So from research, we'll go to companies. From companies, we've talked about NICE. So let's look at NICE. So our overview is the traditional view that we've always used for manifest investing. It'll show you the Chronicle, which is a combination of these three charts right here that you can tab through, all put on one view. And we can see sort of the price decline that was mentioned in NICE, and we're asking why that might be happening when we were talking to Solomon. So a few more things on this page now. We have an addition called the company profile. If you click on that, this data is pulled from FMP. So we now have their description of the company and a few other pieces of information that we can pull from them if they're available. Not always available for every single company, but when it is, it'll show up here. So that's an additional piece of information you can use. One of the things that I'm not sure anybody really knows about yet, but I built a visual breakdown of the quality and financial strength and EPS stability and so on. So you've got it in numeric fashion here, but there's also this sort of scorecard version of it here for people who like to see things more visually. So I think that's a pretty cool extra resource within the company page. Then if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you can always find these two cards. I'll show another way to get to them, but this is a great resource for quickly clicking through into the sector and industry to find comparisons.
Yeah, what we're basically,
the...
just for anybody that might not be familiar, Kurt, we're basically serving up the companies that have the highest return forecast in combination with superior quality by industry and by sector.
So these are finding it by manifest rank, and
Mhm.
manifest rank is basically what Mark just described there. So we're
Those-
ranking these companies against each other to provide this card where you might find alternatives.
I have another hand in the air, and I'm going to unmute Vicky. And Vicky, you'll have to unmute yourself. You're self-muted if you want to ask your question.
I'm not happy with Vicky.
Okay, she's not I'm going to take your hand down then, Vicky, if you figure out how to unmute. If not, type the question in the questions box, and I'll try to get it answered for you.
I'm
I
unhappy
mentioned,
because Ohio State lost in the first game and wrecked my bracket.
oh, it's no fun. One of the things I wanted to quickly mention, when you see these little dotted lines instead of a traditional link with a underline, that'll mean you can mouse over it and it'll do something. So in this case, it'll pop up those same cards. So you don't have to scroll all the way to the bottom, and then you can interact with those cards. So the other items we have now are an external research page, and this is pulling FMP data, publicly available data. FMP sources just that, publicly available data on all sorts of securities, whether it be from Edgar or other sources. They curate all of that and then provide us a wonderful API to try and programmatically go and get those things.
Is that a 10-year
Um,
look back on the relative performance, Kurt? Is that 10 years? Did we say that anywhere?
Yeah, right up here, 10-year in this case.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. And we're able to pull some some more information. I don't know what the Altman Z-score is. Honestly, I probably need to add a call out for that, but that's one API that I found recently, so we can decide if we need some of these here. This one I probably want to put back up, but you know, we have, in this case, analyst estimates publicly available, so we'll grab those. Price targets, again, this is we try and call out the time periods, so these are 12-month price targets, and these are external estimates, just so you can find them. We're also able to grab SEC filings, so we can show some of those things for you, and you can click through and find the external resource for that. So this is a page of more what we would consider research that you can look at and go through, but not really key to how we build out our overview of a company. So if you're always interested in trying to go and read, you know, an SEC filing or a quarterly report, we at least provide an easy way to go grab that information. This one is new, the earnings analysis. If you click into here and it doesn't show it yet, there's a little button that says it'll go do it. It's not necessarily that these are expensive, but if we're not going to use them, I'm not going to generate them for all 3,000 companies. So if you see that, it'll take about 30 to 60 seconds for us to go out, pull that, and then analyze it. Again, this is done by AI. Our AI of choice is Claude from Anthropic, and we use various models depending on the complexity of the task we're asking it to do. This is using, I believe it's Claude Opus for this. So this will tell you more about what this report is doing and the different color signals. And then it'll go through and try and analyze earnings calls. So we get transcripts of the earnings calls, and then we compare them to each other and call out basically what happened between those periods. And I think it's sort of a fun read when you're trying to make a decision about a company. Trying to read those call transcripts on your own might take a little while, but this takes it all and summarizes it for you. So it's pretty cool.
I suspect we'll be coming back to Gentex. That's the company we talked about in the last couple of weeks at Bull Sessions, and see if their promises match, their deliveries match their promises. And Kurt's actually giving you a place to check it.
Yeah, so you can always use this search for stocks up here and jump between these. So we can quickly jump in and see if it's available. Let me see if I don't.
The next time Ken
That's a
wants
rare.
to blow away one of the stocks in our portfolios, he's going to use this against me.
Probably. Let's see if anybody's done it for Portillo's. Nope. So here's an example of what the screen would look like if we didn't have it.
Don't give him any
simply click
ammunition.
on this. And then we'll come back here later and we can tell Mark about his Portillo's investment. So you don't have to stick around. It'll do it on its own. But if you stick around, as soon as it has it, it will show up. Otherwise, you can continue on your merry way and come back later if you don't feel like waiting 2 minutes. Oh, look at that. I earned a free week, Mark. So happy.
I just
taking a week off
too. I'm giddy.
I noticed Mark never marks all of his notifications as red. All of his screenshots have a red dot here and a red dot over the forum. So I probably need to get on him about that.
I clear him as best I can.
Kurt, a suggestion from Cheryl in the audience. She's wondering if you could add a date to that earnings stuff so that it's telling the user as of which date this is coming here. These calls are coming from.
That's a good point. Date. All right. We'll have that. Because this is a recently introduced feature, we don't have any, what should I call it, history. But as quarterly reports are created or transcripts over time and we come back and reanalyze these, there'll be some comparison between what happened in the last AI generated report versus what happened in this one. So we'll be able to expand this with sort of that comparison between periods. But at the moment, it's just a snapshot of the last three. I think we're probably, to the question phase, but while we're talking about what's coming down the pipeline, we can see if there's any more questions. So the last item on our list would be upcoming additions to Manifest. And what I have been working on probably more than anything else is a way to expand our coverage based on all of the data that we have access to. So what we've been working on and that, why the prove discussion is so timely is that might offer a path forward. We can get a lot of data from FMP and we can use that calculation for companies that we might not provide a manifest-based PAR and quality rating on, but we might be able to achieve that programmatically. So instead of having an uncovered company with just a price, we might be able to have a computed coverage company that would show a quality and a PAR and everything else that you're accustomed to. So that is the biggest feature that's coming down the pipe. And we're already testing that with, in some cases, in the background. So,
yeah, we're very close. And what Curtis just described is me being fired. Again, yeah, the real importance here is it's going to lend. It's basically going to take a lot of the information he's already showed you here today and basically deploy it across our entire universe of companies. Now, we've got about 1,000 companies, 1,200 companies outside of the value line standard edition universe. Those are very challenging. Ken used to do it. So Ken can actually attest to this. It's a very time-consuming, arduous task to keep them updated. Kurt is going to make it so they'll be all updated all the time, continuously. And that's going to basically set me free to do some other stuff also. So you're going to see all of our companies updated here within the next few days. And will basically be 100% current, and then we will methodically add companies to coverage.
I think
One
it's
of
important, Mark, to share with the audience that it's still user input is still very valuable to the database. And when you see a significant difference between a study that you might have done independently and the numbers that you're reading in Manifest, it's not a bad thing to just send Mark a note and let him know that you think there might be something wrong with the analysis that you're looking at on the Manifest database. That just gives him an alert to take a look at it when he gets a chance. That's all it does.
Going through and trying to, I don't want to say automate this process, but trying to figure out formulaic ways to approach this. You definitely have outliers. And it can be challenging to try and define rules that will make everything make sense. So it will be definitely on the computed coverage more than anything else. We'll probably make a way for you to easily flag or question what we're trying to do in certain areas. So that's coming down the pipe.
And I think we should say also, Kurt, the smaller the company, the more chance there is of an outlier occurring in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and then what we run into with even standard coverage is that if we don't have enough years of history, there's not really much we can do there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
So
as you
we're not going to be able to cover penny stocks for you. We're not going to be able to cover companies with limited history or negative history.
Yeah, we'll still have the prices, but you won't have the fundamental data.
Right.
Some of those.
So one of the things I just stumbled across that is a feature we didn't mention. If you click on research, you'll see an entry called watch list. Mark doesn't think these are valuable, but that's okay. If you click your little eyeball here, we're going to add this to our watch list.
Oh, man.
It'll tell you. And then if you come down and click on watch list, you'll see that you have nice on your watch list. So if you want to use this feature is there. If you want to be able to do more with this feature, let me know. Don't tell Mark, because he'll tell you can just use a dashboard. But send Kurt K at Manifest Investing a note, and I'll improve this feature based on feedback. So we do have a watch list.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost been an hour and a half, so we should probably wrap this one up so that our event archive can actually process this and provide a full transcript.
So thanks everybody for bringing out your questions and issues and stuff that you like to see addressed. And thank you, Kurt, for continuing to press on. We are literally only a few days away from that data conversion. I mean, think of it like you're already aware of Morningstar, perhaps in their Q companies that are not covered by human analysts. We'll be doing that only better. Because we're going to be using the methodology that George Nicholson and the Modern Investment Club movement has put together over the decades. Ken, any further comments from you?
We just got another comment from somebody that loves the worksheets. Okay, so keep going on those, Kurt. All right.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah, and then as always, I am very open and eager for feedback. So if there's something that you're doing on the site and you say, man, it would be easier if it would just do this instead of that, click on your personal profile picture there, scroll down to the bottom, and either contact support or report a bug. It'll open this wonderful little screen here. And if you're reporting a bug, it'll show me what page you were on and what you might have been doing. And you can tell me, or you can click contact support, and both Mark and I get email from this email address, and let us know how we can help. And I'd be glad to help. So,
and I'll give a little bit of tease. We'll probably do this again in 4 to 6 weeks or something like that. And I think at that point in time, we're going to share a story with you about one of Kurt's latest adventures. And it's amazing. Yeah, and it's gonna do a lot of wonderful things for all of us.
just remember, Mark, that 4 to 6 weeks drops us right on top of the bank. So be careful.
Well,
okay?
yeah, we got it. Plus or minus. Give us leeway. Yeah, understood.
Probably plus.
We might be talking about it in Chicago a little bit. Who knows?
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks, y'all. Always enjoy doing this. So looking forward to the next one.
All right. Thanks, Kurt. Thanks, Ken. And thanks to the audience for sharing your time with us.
Good night, all.